Thing very funny happened. Okay.
Okay.
So I could not sleep suddenly.
Okay.
There was such a huge noise.
Okay.
I went outside and saw in between the two cottages there was a stable, right?
Right.
On the top of the table there was one.
Okay.
And the back part, the rear part was. They say this noise are from the souls of poets who cannot keep quiet because when they were alive, they never wrote the poems they wanted to. That's the legend behind this noise. The rasping sound is not unfamiliar to anyone visiting Indian countryside or forest regions with large trees. After all, with an astonishing diversity of approximately 250 recorded species, these monsoon musicians are known to occur throughout this country. The song of the cicada, that powerful hum from a small insect, has captured the imagination of people down the ages. But many of us city dwellers have not seen or noticed the insect or how they make such sound. Much of what goes on in the lives of cicadas still remain a mystery anyway, even for the researchers. My first close encounter with one of them has been a rather memorable one because just outside my room in Machan Wilderness Resort close to Nagarhole National Park, one of them decided to make his presence felt. And amidst tappings of gentle drizzle outside, that noise was powerful enough to wake me up. I left my bed and sensing the source of sound to be near the door, I opened it to find the insect lying on a wooden pedestal. I couldn't believe for a moment or two that the sound came from such a tiny creature, could be enough to disturb my sleep inside the room. I thought many of them make this sound in chorus. Unlike their cousins, the crickets that sing at night, the song of most cicadas are usually heard during the day or at dusk, depending on the species and weather. So the solitary cicada call at night, whose intensity can be as loud as jet engine, naturally caught my attention. I wasn't expecting content deep into the night, so couldn't capture his close up with camera. But since this was the first time I was watching cicada up close, I hurriedly got my mobile. And then a funny coincidence happened, which I was describing to the naturalist later. While in the morning I appreciated their lively, unrelenting, and at times shrill melody to herald the arrival of the monsoon, it was a different story at night, as my sleep deprived self knew that I had to get ready for safari in another 2 hours. And so, in a tired voice, I humored to plead. Could you please be a little quiet, baby? I couldn't sleep. Okay, listen, I'm getting inside. Please don't start. Let me sleep, okay? You're a good singer, but don't start now, okay? Thank you. Thank you for stopping, but please don't start. I'm going to sleep now. Guess what? The insect obliged me for rest of the night. Almost immediately he stopped, and as far as I am aware, he maintained silence. And even if he sung, it must not be loud enough to disturb me further. Actually, the hind part was shaking and was making a lot of noise. Right. And then I said, I can't sleep, please stop. And immediately, coincidentally, stopped.
Oh, nice. You see the tymbal structure on the body, right? You see so they make a sound by releasing air from the tymbal. That's how they make a sound.
Sound is too loud.
Yeah, very too loud.
It's surprising because in some species, males also create distinct chorus songs as well as alarm and distress signals when startled. So, if my voice had stressed out the insect, it was more likely to create sound rather than keeping quiet. When I was leaving for safari at the dawn, he was sitting there quietly. I almost felt bad then. Who knows which obedient poet's soul I disappointed by stopping the natural flow, if the legend is to be believed. Even otherwise, cicadas, with their loud calls, are an important component of the soundscape of ecosystems and are good indicators of forest health. I'm not Dr. Doolittling here, but I would like to mention about a documentary, The Animal Communicator, commissioned by the NHU Africa National History Unit. The documentary features South African-born interspecies communicator Anna Breytenbach, who claims to exchange mental images with animals in order to communicate with them. She doesn't even need to vocalize. Swati Tyagarajan, one of the top environmental journalists of India, was extremely skeptical about her ability and wanted to join her during the course of making this documentary to see actually how this happens. Even the South African reserve where Anna joined, people were completely, circumspect about her ability, and they thought it was one of the hoaxes. Now, people in the reserves were, stumped at Anna's ability to actually uncannily pick up the messages. For example, she used to say that this animal is going to fall sick. This animal is communicating to me that there is a problem in the stomach. And the next day, actually, the problem, became apparent for everybody. So they thought that, somebody with a great observational power and medical knowledge and also knowledge of animals can figure these things out. So they didn't really believe in, communication part. Game changer happened with a angry black leopard named Diablo. He used to always remain in one corner of his enclosures and used to often display very temperamental attitude. If anybody comes remotely close to the enclosure, he would growl, snarl at them. And he would never, there was a huge open area accessible in that Jukani Wildlife Sanctuary for the particular leopard, but he never ventured out as well. He always used to, stay in one particular spot. The leopard was bought from one of the Europe's zoo to this reserve, South African reserve. Jar Golson, the founder of Jukani Wildlife Sanctuary, didn't believe in Anna's extrasensory capabilities either and prevented her to communicate with any of the animal keepers so that she doesn't get any intimate information about animals, and it can really be proven that whatever information she is sharing is actually coming from direct communication with the animals. The game-changing moment happened with this leopard actually because apparently when Anna tried to communicate, and by communicating means she used to swap mental images. The leopard said that, I do not like my name, Diablo. I feel it doesn't, reflect my persona. And that's why in the course of this documentary, very fascinating, his name was changed to Spirit. And he apparently liked this name, the new name Spirit. He also said that he doesn't know why he remains confined inside one place is because he is not sure what is expected out of him. He doesn't want to be a subject of entertainment. So Anna apparently reassured the leopard that, and I know that it all sounds very funny if you logically think, but in presence of different researchers, scientists, this thing has happened. So that's why I'm asking you to look at the documentary. So the leopard said that I feel that I would be, reduced to an object of entertainment, and that's why I don't come out. But what stumped everybody was that, and that's nobody in that particular reserve knew about it. Uh, Anna suddenly asked that were there two other leopards, in the European zoo where this leopard was already there in the beginning and very close to his enclosure. He asked about these two other leopards. What happened to those two leopard cubs? And when Anna communicated that, that's the time actually, people really got, when they inquired about it and got to know there was actually those two leopards were there in the zoo where Spirit or Diablo, his original name, was kept. That's when, everybody kind of felt that something is going on there. And then they closely monitored Anna and animals' communication. And from, of course, there are many other researchers who actually support the proof towards interspecies communication. I am not claiming at all that this is something remotely has happened here. For all you know, the cicada just, heard an alien voice and stopped probably thinking it's just a predator or got disturbed. Anyway, after reassurance from Anna that everything is right and nobody will be, just looking at him in a deriding way, the next day, after Anna assured the leopard, uh, the next day they left the enclosure open, and every day the enclosure is actually open. The leopard can venture out outside, but it never came outside. After Anna spoke with the leopard, Spirit came out the very next day and actually, took a complete patrolling of this entire area, not even growled for once. Then, after traversing through the entire area, he just sat at one spot, looked at Anna, and then Anna slowly went to the leopard, and further some exchanges happened, and this imagery actually made people stumped that what's going on, because forget about not behaving aggressively towards other human. The leopard never ventured out from that corner itself, so everybody was really shaken about this incident. Jared Golson was at his wit's end about how to deal with this antisocial leopard. This thing has completely made him notice about what's going on in his reserve. And then he started actually, monitoring things more closely. There was one incident with the cockatoo as well. There were many such, instances of communication that has happened. There was one moment where Anna apparently told Spirit, the leopard, that, do you know that you're stunning, you're very beautiful. Leopard apparently 19 times said, I know. I know it's all sounds very, very children's fiction, but it feels also nice to hear about these things, right? So, see, I'm all for scientific analysis and everything, but that should never take away from the magic of the moment. I got to know from Machansanian naturalist Mr. Gautam that the powerful song of the cicada is the male's calling card and the female arrives in response. I will post my fascinating night walk experience with him to explore nocturnal life of Western Ghats forest regions, and I will also review about the resort in future. So it's a good idea to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet, provided you like my content. In most species, the male cicada produces this remarkable sound with the help of a combination of unique adaptations. For one, the body is like a hollow musical instrument akin to a violin or guitar with air-filled pockets that behave like resonance chambers, amplifying the sound the creature generates. The sound itself is produced by specialized tymbals, thin membranous structures with thick ribs located on either side of the abdomen. A muscle pulls these ribs inward and then releases them. Rapid repetition of this action at an astonishing speed of 300 to 400 times per second generates the distinctive tambourine-like music the cicada produces. Varying body sizes produce different sound frequencies. Bigger bodied cicadas create deeper calls than smaller bodied cicadas. In answer to the male song, the female cicada replies with a soft click that sounds like a switch flicked. Once the female arrives in response to his song, the male switches to a courtship anthem. Historically, across cultures, cicadas have been symbolically linked to the ideas of rebirth and transformation in both folklore and art. In China, during the Han Dynasty, jade cicadas were placed on the tongue as part of the burial ceremony to ensure that the departed have voices in their afterlife. High regard for cicada is also found among the Hopi people of northern Arizona who may have come originally from Asia. An African cicada, Brevisana brevis, is the world's loudest insect. Its loudest love song is almost at 107 decibels when measured at a distance of 20 inches away. That's almost as loud as a chainsaw. Though some researchers have discovered that the peacock butterfly can produce click that measures 110 decibels and hence should be considered as the loudest insect, it's generally accepted that exposed for a prolonged time, cicada songs are loud enough to create concern for our hearing health, and even though it can often ease tinnitus symptoms like ringing in the ears, it can worsen such symptoms too in others. Additionally, individuals with hyperacusis, a condition characterized by heightened sensitivity to everyday sounds, might find the cicada's noise particularly bothersome. But they need to make sound to communicate, find mates, and possibly drive away potential predators. After my antics, Harry kept quiet instead. Maybe he also got equally disturbed by me and wasn't in a mood to call further as I interfered during his meeting call inadvertently. So, did I just say it's a coincidence? Well, as I study about animal symbolism, I feel this fascinating insect came as a timely reminder to not perish like tortured poets with words buried inside, to express oneself freely in a voice that uniquely belongs to each one of us, albeit with the discretion to know when words are plain harmful or simply unnecessary. Also, this is not the first time such coincidence happened with me. In Bandipur in summer, there was one instance when we were all looking at a leopard, was quite at a distance for a long, long time. And ultimately, when the leopard came to the water body to drink water, just after a little, probably few seconds, the leopard turned away. And I was frustrated that we were waiting in that spot for such a long time and ultimately got that sight of leopard drinking, and then immediately the leopard will be leaving anyway. I just, in my mind, I think it has probably caught in my camera as well. I said, Palat, That is the famous dialogue from a movie, which basically means turn around. I was just, humoring myself there. The leopard immediately turned, actually, and I will show it in future video. Uh, I mean, it was things like this. I know that these are all happy coincidence. We all brush it aside, but how many such things will call as happy coincidence? Ultimately, we all are connected with each other at an energetic level, and even bioscientists are claiming that inanimate objects also are conscious now. So who knows what's going on? During the course of making this video, I got to know that my channel has reached 100,000 unique viewership. That from the time I'm making this video till now, this was the unique view count, and I was very happy to hear this news, and I wanted to share the joy with you, and also want to express my thankfulness to each one of those viewers who are tuning into my channel. Because only I know that how much it took out from me to actually, to continue doing this, because it's not just about balancing with my full-time job. There are many other constraints and obligations I needed to negotiate with in order to persist with YouTube. See, it's not about posting every day. It's about working for YouTube every day. Like, for example, I hardly knew anything about cicada before making this video. I learned actually a lot during the course, and I got to know that the periodic cicadas actually emerge from the brood after every 13 or 17 years, especially in the US. And people believe when they stay in underground for such a long time, they are actually hibernating, they are not doing anything. But they are very much active and they are ready for the emergence.